my goodness, as a property investor and with a property channel, I am so excited to talk about 100% mortgages because they are back in the UK the first time since 2008. This is huge. Skipton mortgages. Skipton mortgages were the first lender that introduced buy-to-let mortgages, and now they have finally brought in 100% mortgages for first-time buyers. Huge. One of the reasons I'm so excited about this is because when I started in 2008, everyone says, oh, it was easy for you because you could get 100% mortgages. I mean, they scrapped it just after I got started, but still. And that was how many years ago? Like 14 years ago? Now they're back. No excuses. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what 100% mortgages are, specific requirements of Skipton mortgage, and whether you are eligible or not. Maybe right now you're renting. If you're renting and you're paying $1,000 a month, do you know that you could potentially buy the house that you're renting with 100% mortgage without putting down a penny as a deposit? This is crazy. How do I think it's going to affect the housing market in the UK over the coming months and years? And do I think this is a good thing, a bad thing, and should you be doing it? So if you enjoy my channel, do me a favor, smash the like button, and I want to know your thoughts as well in the comments below. So 100% mortgages, what does it mean? 100% mortgage simply means that when you're buying a house, there'll be a lender that will give you 100% of the money to buy the house. Okay, normally speaking, when you buy a house, you might put down a deposit, right? So if you want to buy a house for £300,000, and let's say you need to put down 20%, because every different lender has got a different requirement of how much you need to put as a deposit compared to how much they're going to loan you. So if you're buying a house for £300,000 and you speak to a bank or you speak to a mortgage lender and they say, oh, you need to put down 20%, then that means that you need to save up £60,000. And you'll put down 60,000, and sometimes the lenders on top of that will charge you a fee just for giving you the money. So they'll say, you need to put down 60,000, we'll loan you the rest, and you need to pay us a fee for giving you the loan. Skipton mortgages have said for certain people, and this is for first-time buyers, that want to buy the house that they are living in. Now, of course, you can't do this if you've got terrible credit. You also have to have been renting the property for the last 12 months. And there's, of course, affordability checks. If you're living in a house, I think it's up to 600 and something thousand pounds is the maximum amount. And it also depends on how much rent you're paying right now. So if you're paying £1,000, which is about the average rent, if you're paying £1,000, they will loan you up to £163,000. So, you know, you can't be buying a mansion on a 100% mortgage. This is for first-time buyers. This is for not for brand new apartments, and this is for tenants who are wanting to buy a house without using a deposit. Another great thing about this is Skiptons don't charge a fee. So there's no fee. So the only thing that you're going to have to pay if you're eligible for this and you live in a house that you want to buy is your legal fees. Your solicitor fees, which might cost you about £1,000. So that's what it is. Do I think it's a good thing, and how do I think it's going to affect the housing market? I think it's a great thing. I think it's a really, really good opportunity for first-time buyers to get on the property ladder. And I think that ultimately, if you look at working class people, okay, normal, average, everyday people in 9-to-5 jobs that don't make more than 50, 60 grand a year, if you look over their life from the age of 20 to 60, most working class people made most of their money not in their job. You know how most people make money? Accidentally without even trying, through the house that they buy. Most people work their ass off for 40 years, working 40 hours a week, and how much they're making? Like 20, 30 grand, and they're having to spend all that to live. If you look at the average person, speak to the average 50 or 60 or 70 year old, most of the money they made was accidental wealth made by buying a house. And the problem is with today in 2023 is if you need £60,000 to buy a house, how are you going to save £60,000? Saving up £60,000 is going to take you a lifetime. So for the average person to get on the property ladder, it is a nightmare. So I think 100% mortgages are a fantastic thing. I think it's going to help ordinary people, tenants, get on the property ladder. What are some of the cons? Well, it's possible that you might buy a house for, say, 100 grand and you get 100% mortgage. You buy a house and it's possible that that house drops in value. What does that mean? that means that you are now in negative equity. So there is a possibility of debt. When I bought my first house in 2009 for £100,000, it dropped in value. I bought it in 2009 and everyone was saying, what are you doing? Why are you buying? And it dropped in value, but I didn't sell it. I held on to it and now it's worth £300,000. I still own it today. So short term, if houses drop, you may be in negative equity. However, does that really matter? Because if you're planning on living in the house forever or for a long time, if you hold on to it long enough, it's going to probably go up in value. The security that you'll get from owning it, I think it's a good thing. The other thing I'll mention as well is the interest rate that Skipton are charging is just over, I think it's 5.3%. It's just over 5%. So if you're borrowing 100 grand, that means that you're gonna need to work out how much are you having to be paying on interest and make sure that that amount is less than rent. Okay? Because there's no point buying a house, living in it, getting 100% mortgage if you then can't afford to pay the interest payments. So I think generally it's a really good thing. What I will say is this though, even smarter than buying a house and getting 100% of the money from Skipton Mortgages would be to do this. Because let's put this into perspective. The house that you're buying from Skipton, the mortgage requirement is going to have certain T's and C's. So for example, I'm not eligible for a Skipton mortgage, but I imagine you probably can't get a Skipton mortgage 100% and then rent it out. You have to live in it yourself. I don't know if you can rent the rooms out. Maybe you can, maybe you can't, but there's going to be limitations. So what I would say is if you're excited about the idea of getting a house without putting down a deposit, even if you don't qualify for Skipton, do you know what you can do instead? You can find a house, a really good investment property that you've negotiated to buy cheap, and you can get 100% loan to buy it, not from Skipton, but from an investor. You can go to property investment networking events and find investors that are time poor and cash rich. And you can say, hey, I found a banging deal and I want you to put the money in and I will do all the work and we'll split the money. So there's more than one way to get a house without putting down a deposit than Skipton mortgages. So what I would say is, whilst I think this is a really good thing, be open-minded to other ways. You can get a house without putting a deposit down on a purchase lease option agreement. In fact, this is one of the things I did. When I was 19 years old, I bought a house, my first lease option agreement. It was on the market for 85 grand. There was no equity in it. The seller was motivated. And I said, what's the lowest you can accept? He said 81. And I said, well, I'll buy it for 81, but I'll buy it in 7 years' time. And in the meantime, I'll take over the mortgage payments. So I took over the mortgage payments of £145 a month, rented it out for $550, made a little income from it, and then used that extra income that I was making, saved it as a deposit, and then in 7 years' time, I had the option to buy it for 81. And at which point, it was worth way more than 81. I mean, damn, you could even control properties on rent to rent without putting down a deposit. So there's so many ways that you can buy properties without a deposit, but this is just one, Skipton. Maybe you're eligible. If you're eligible, if you're living in a house and you're a tenant and you like it and the landlord's up for selling and you qualify with Skipton, boom, good, go do it. Get on the property ladder, buy it, hold on to it, have the security of it, cool. But if you don't qualify and you're not eligible, then go and get a purchase lease option agreement or go and find an investor or an angel investor. Buy a property cheap that's run down and get a bridging loan. There are bridging companies that will give you 100% sometimes if the deal is good enough. That doesn't make the headlines though, does it? 100% bridging loan. Buy it cheap, push the value up and then refinance it, pay off the bridging loan, you're left with the house for free. There's so many ways. So I love the Skipton thing. It could potentially push house prices up a little bit. I think it's going to outbalance things. I don't think it's going to massively affect the property market because I don't think enough people will do it. I think that a lot of people won't be eligible, and those that are eligible probably just not even know it exists, or be like, oh, I can't afford the legal fees. It's amazing how many people say that. You know, I met a lady recently who said she had the right to buy her house. It was a council house, and she had the right to buy it 60% below market value. Imagine that. 60% below market value. And not only that, okay, because she said, oh, but it doesn't matter. It could be 70%. I don't have the money to buy it. I put her in touch with a mortgage broker who said that she could use the discount as the deposit. She could put down nothing. All she had to pay was her legal fees of £2,000. And she could buy the house in London, 60% below market value. She goes, I haven't got any legal fees though. I can't afford to pay the legal fees. I was so like angry, I just gave her the £2,000 because it's like, come on, so a lot of people won't do this. I don't think it's going to massively affect the housing market. It might be that more and more people start doing it. If they do start doing 100% mortgages, I mean, if we look back at history in 2008, when the banks were giving out 125% mortgages. I mean, I remember when the banks were literally, oh, I want to buy this house for 100 grand. Here's 125 grand, 100 grand for the house and 25 grand to refurb it and have a holiday. That's how crazy the banks were. They got so loose at giving out money that house prices went right up because everyone's buying houses. And if everyone's buying houses and everyone's got the money to buy houses, it does push house prices up. Then the banks run out of money. Suddenly we had the credit crunch, then houses crashed. So houses will always go up, down, but ultimately houses are a good asset if you can hold on to them. So that's my thoughts. What do you think though? Comment below. If you want to do some of the other strategies, like if you want to do, purchase lease option agreements, or you want to do deal sourcing, or you want to raise finance and find buy, refurbish, refinance, auction opportunities, anything like this, I'd love to spend a day with you and teach you at the Property Investors Crash Course. All I know about property condensed into one day. Thousands of people have done this £1 course, and thousands of people have got results. So if you want to come and spend a day with me, I'll leave a link in the description. Get booked on, and I wish you all the very best in your success.